It's Monday, September 14th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, virtual private networking.
Let's do this. Says the problem at my work is that there's 3 tech guys and we're all non-picky, so we'll eat anywhere.
That's kind of the greater problem of the FRC. Where do you want to eat? And then because we're all so open, we always end up deferring to the choices of like the one picky guy.
Yeah. And so it's all about, so we go and we just start walking around and we're like, where do we eat?
Walking around, looking around.
So like, how about some sushi? Oh, but none of the sushi places let you eat outside. They're all inside eating places. It's like,
Yeah, you got to eat outside because this is like the good weather's going to end.
Yep. So so it's either like get a takeout and sit in a park or sit in a place. And eventually we got to a place with like 3 possible eateries all next to each other and we didn't care which one. So someone just fiated and we picked this Thai place. And the Thai place wasn't outside, but it was one of those places where the front of the store basically opens up entirely. So you're effectively outside. And basically, they had a lunch. The only thing you could order was the $8 lunch special, which is pretty awesome. Because the $8 lunch special got you. First, you got a salad in a little thingy. Right?
All right, little Thai salad.
A little Thai salad. Just basically 1 piece of cucumber and some lettuce and, tomato, whatever.
I like little salads like that because, I
it's like the ginger salad you get when you get hibachi.
I like myself a big salad, Elaine style.
I'm eating a big salad for dinner.
But if I'm not eating a big salad.
After the show.
Man, I got to start making salads.
My Gorgonzola stew Leonard salad.
Oh, man. But I got to start eating more of the tiny salad with every meal is like the best thing because I always want a tiny bit of salad.
Yep.
But I don't want the salad to get in the way.
It's good for the gizzards.
It is.
So
if you have a gizzard.
All right. And then they give you a choice of an appetizer bit. So you can get like 2 dumpling or 2...
Has Geeknights rubbed off on you? Appetizer bit? Like a main bit and an opening bit?
It's basically, you can get like 2 what do they have? I got a steamed vegetable dumpling. I think the other guys got I forget, but you can get 2 little appetizing things. And then you get your meal. I got a drunken noodle.
Oh man.
And then you even get like a soda if you want soda, even though I had water. But the other guy had to pay for Thai iced tea, which is separate from his sodas. So
it's worth paying for.
That was $8.
That's why I love New York.
That's a fucking lunch for $8.
I work in Midtown, so I don't get these cheap.
The funniest part, the guy, he's like, "Oh, drunken noodle, very hot. Is that okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." It's like, and you know what? I have had drunken noodle like 5 times as hot as that. It was like what? It was a joke.
Well, he's got to warn you, white guy. But I think the thing is, it wasn't Thai hot.
It wasn't even like Chinese restaurant. General so hot.
It is funny the different scales. I remember when Pete and
it was hot
ordered...
enough to where I needed some waters, but it wasn't hot like I'm in trouble.
Well, I remember I think it was the second to last time we ate at the Fuck You Sukhothai, and Pete and I were I think we both I forget what we ordered, but they're like, yeah, you want it regular hot or Thai hot? And we look at each other, and neither one of us wants to back down or be the wuss who says, nah, I'd like regular hot, please. So we're both like, yeah, Thai hot. Wow.
The King and I had the Thai hot.
King and I. Man, there are good Thai restaurants around here, and maybe it's just my rosy memory and the fact that was the first Thai restaurant I'd ever eaten at.
I don't know. I've never found something quite like the garlic pepper beef and chicken.
Man, the garlic pepper beef and chicken. But I got to tell you, when it comes to Thai hot food, there's a phrase that is on Fark all the time. This is one of those Fark catchphrases that doesn't make it very far off of Fark.
Pure cat, baby.
Never has it been more applicable than when I ate the Thai food.
Yeah.
Quote, ... when the oil hits the anus, ...
Uh-huh. All right. Yep. So let's, there's probably been a bajillion tech news since we last did a Monday show. We've forgotten all the ones that are more than a few days old with our short memories.
I was reminded a little bit by Delicious, but all that did was remind me, oh yeah, there was a bunch of tech news.
I've mostly been deliciousing like tech things, as not things of the day, but like Python libraries that I plan to use and stuff like that.
Well, in the spirit of talking, first I want to real quick mention this because it is, it's important. I think everyone should know. Norman Borlaug is dead. He has finally died after 96 years of being a badass.
I was pleased to see that he got, proper news attention. I thought it would be, usually when like a person like that dies, they get like a slightly larger obituary in the New York Times, and that's it. So I was pleased to see that he was actually at like the top of Google News for
here's the thing.
while.
I sadly
despite
think
football.
the only reason that he is so well known now is because of Penn and Teller and their bullshit episode about it.
I can't deny that it helped him, but I don't think that's it. I think
actually,
he was,
what saddened me was that
his Nobel Prize winningness helped him a great deal.
a lot of the internet newsy stuff about him had a lot of haters.
Really?
Actual haters. Most people were saying, people saying things like, yeah, great, thanks to make the world more overpopulated, or yeah, you asshole, now those people are going to take over the world, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, okay.
Norman Borlaug, though, I'll miss him primarily because he would never shy from Buzz Aldrining someone.
That's for real.
I mean,
he wrote, there's a great thing, let's link to it, I have the link, where he basically shoots down all the organic farming people. He's like, look, yeah, you can do your organic farming if you want, sure, okay. If you want to feed the world like that, you're going to need to basically destroy all of your wildernesses and turn them into farms.
His beautiful point was that organic farming is great, go for it, it's a thing you can strive for, but... One, it is elitist to think that can somehow feed the world, especially if you have never experienced hunger.
Yeah.
He also, he basically points out that, all other arguments aside about food, the only goal he had was to reduce human suffering. And because people were hungry, he did everything he could to make people not be hungry.
And there's a lot less people that are hungry. Water is a much bigger problem now.
He was a veritable Tezuka of making food.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just spending his last breath, let me work.
Yeah.
I'll admit, I didn't know who he was until Penn and Teller told me.
I had known that I knew of his works, but I did not know his name.
Well, I
knew of the works, and I knew that a guy who had a Nobel Prize made those works.
I knew about the works in the
Dwarf
context
Weeks.
of that one sentence in every middle school textbook. Blah, 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 Green Revolution, blah, blah, blah,
No,
fed India.
I knew like a whole class's worth of stuff about that, so...
Nah. But that aside... We're generally going to pick the news as we remember as opposed to what might have been important because something might be important, but if I have nothing to say about it, it'll be like, X happened.
Yep. Real quick, I just want to say I got the Snow Leopards. I'm installing it on the Mac Mini right now. According to everyone I've seen and what I've heard, I'm about to find out for reals after the show, but it definitely is just sort of a service pack. However, it adds a few key features that happen to have significance for me because they make me use a Mac at work, and I really need that Exchange support, so there you have it.
So what's the installer like? I mean, it's
put
Mac.
the disk in, you push next, agree, and then I guess I have to wait 40 minutes, and I'll know the rest after the show.
Well, I guess it has to ask you something. I mean, otherwise...
It asked me which drive to install on, even though there was only one drive to install to.
See, you know why it's doing that? It's shake and bake syndrome. So when you install it, you're a Mac person, you install your upgrade, you can think to yourself, and I helped.
Yeah, right? No, it's in case you have a Mac Pro, which has more than one drive in it. That's why. Anyway, Steve Jobs obviously not dead, and he brought out some new iPods. That iPod Nano, despite the fact that I don't need it because I have an iPhone, looking pretty good. Like, I don't understand why no one can compete with the stupid iPod. I mean, Zune can't fucking do it. Like, I mean, the Zune HD is looking pretty good too, but
it's obvious
iPod
what to
Nano
do.
way better.
It's obvious what to do. It would be cheaper to do it than Apple sells it for. It's just no one does it.
If you put me in charge of a bunch of electronics dudes, right? I couldn't do the industrial design. I couldn't do the electronics, but I could say, here's the list of features. Get them fucking in there. All of them. Do it this way. And if they did it, it would be an iPod killer. All right? Here's the list. Ready? Play any codec. Any codec. Right? If you can't handle like the full power of the codec, then, because the CPU can't be that good.
Make a more powerful device.
Make a more powerful device, or just like, reduce the quality on the codec, or have your client like, down transcode or something, or just like, skip. Just make it all, play the video all skippily. Who cares?
But down transcode because that won't take CPU.
Well, no, I mean on the computer.
But then
right?
I can't just drag and drop.
Anyway, number 2, ready? That's audio and video codecs, by the way. Number 2, a nice, easy user interface. All we need is a left and right button or an up and down button, and then a action button. That's it. You don't need any other buttons besides that. Number 3,
volume.
Right, volume, I guess, but you can use the up and down button for that.
Now, what if I want to change tracks?
You push the button in the middle.
So I push the button in the middle, and then what?
There's a menu.
So then I got to look at this menu.
Yeah, use the menu for changing the tracks.
Actually, no, because here is the iPod that has just enough that I need. But the reason I like it is that with the pre,
you don't have to look at it.
Yeah, I gotta fucking look at that thing. So if I'm on the train half asleep and I just want to change the song or change the volume,
you gotta look at it.
I gotta look at this thing, and that
with the iPod and you don't have to look.
I'll admit the pre's great. Like I have media on it, and it's a good I need something to listen to. I need some audio, but media playing device, it is not, just because it doesn't have the basic features that the stupid iPhone has for media.
Even what the iPod has. It's like, come on, this is like $1 bajillion. It can't even do what an iPod does. Anyway, synchronize over the air. Wi-Fi. Oh my gosh. Not that hard, people. Just do it, just drag and drop files onto it, if you decide to plug it in instead of going over the air. Just freely share files with any other device that's also the same device. Let me just drag and drop MP3s and videos with my friends. No restrictions whatsoever. Just free copying. No one get, it's not an illegal device. It doesn't make it illegal. I'm just, it's no different. It doesn't not doing anything that a computer doesn't do. Just copy files to my friends wirelessly.
I am, and after
Bluetooth
all these years,
stereo headphones.
I'm really surprised that no one's jumped on the idea that...
I know, it's all these, all right. What else do they need there? Oh, support for headphones with a button on them. I guess the iPod does do that.
Well, we've got all these hardware companies, and they generally will always bow to the demands of the software companies and the legislators and everything. When
a removable battery.
I think the problem is no one company has all the components together to make the awesome device, and there's always one person in the chain who doesn't want to do the awesome thing.
Yeah. AM, FM radio. They added FM radio to the iPod, which is shocking, but they didn't add AM radio.
I don't need it that.
Actually, I listen to AM radio more than the FM radio.
Yeah.
Because the FM radio only has music, but the AM radio has like the news, weather, traffic, sports, which is the only time I'm ever going to turn on a radio.
The thing is, my busted up car, right? I finally, because my iPod integration on my car was actually pretty good, but the power cable got caught in the door a while ago and broke, and I didn't notice because I don't use my car.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I put the antenna back in just I need something to listen to in the car. It's free. It's not anywhere close to paying me enough to listen to that garbage. Good God.
I only turn on the radio if it's an emergency, like, oh crap, this is sports or something, or oh crap, what's the, the weathers or something. I don't know. I hardly ever turn it on. Anyway.
Oh crap, what's the weather? I'm outside. I have a pre. I can go to NOAA and look at the weather on my pre.
While I'm driving, I can't exactly look at it.
While I'm driving, I never care.
While I'm driving, I might care. If I see a big storm ahead, I want to know.
Why though? What are you going to do? You're on.
Take a different course.
You're on I-75 going south.
Take a different course.
And you see a storm coming.
Take a different course.
If you listen to the radio, you know what it's going to say? Storm's coming.
Yeah, I can go a different way.
Oh shit, it's storm.
Anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It makes me, think like, hey, part of the reason it's like in 6 months my iPhone contract's over, right? And I'm gonna definitely get something else, probably Android, just because I'm all googly, but maybe the pre or maybe something else.
Well, here's what I've decided.
But
I need I need a media playing device and I need a phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
the iPhone is both, which is huge. It's like it's 2 in 1, which is like regardless of any other factor, that is tremendous.
Well, you could argue that it's a phone, but it's on the AT&T network, so it's like 80% a phone.
I know, that's the other problem. It's like, okay, I can have 2 devices, but it's kind of crappy network.
But here's the thing.
Or
if you want,
I can get a Verizon/Sprint phone and then a separate iPod to make up for the fact that
that's
the
what
phone
I was about
sucks.
to say. If you will not compromise on having one device, then they're all pretty much equal. The iPhone, the pre, and Android, like they all have an equal feature set. It's just you pick what features you want.
Yeah.
If you're willing to go to the 2-device setup,
the iPhone is not a loser because the only advantage the iPhone has is that it's a one device.
Because anything plus an iPod is better than the iPhone if you're willing to have 2 devices.
Yep.
So if
I'd like to have one device, but I don't think that's going to be possible just because AT&T is such poop.
It is, and even then, Verizon, I don't know, Sprint more and more is busting out.
Sprint is busting. Actually, there was the guy, the CEO of Sprint, had a really wide open interview on the PBS, and basically he was like, "Yeah, we have these unlimited plans, but really we're charging you more." He's like, "Yeah, the unlimited plan, everyone thinks it's less, it's more." He's like, everyone loves it. He was just so open about everything. It was pretty, he's like, yeah, the iPod's a killer. What are you going to do? I mean, the iPhone's a killer. What are you going to do?
Well, I love the fact that they have
It's
their
like trying to compete with Michael Jordan.
they have their unlimited and their super unlimited. But if you look at the plans, the only difference between those two basically is the super unlimited costs more money in the past. They dropped the price recently. And it gives you unlimited everything. The other one gives you unlimited everything but talking. But they give
I
you
hardly
more
ever use the talking.
than you'll ever need. They give me like 10
I have the lowest
times.
amount of talking possible. I have like a bajillion rollover minutes.
Me too. I have like 450 talking minutes. You know how many I used in the last month? 11.
See, now if they were true rollover minutes, they would give me what they're worth in dollars back when I leave in 6 months.
You know, I got a lot of friends who have rollover whatever, and everyone's like, yeah, I got the maximum rollover. I could talk constantly for the next month.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Anyway, I wish they would give me a plan that was $5.
Well,
and had,
no,
like,
what we're seeing, there's a
5
divergence.
hours, and that's it. Not even 5 hours a month.
There's a divergence where people need a phone number because in modern industrial society, you need a phone number. If you don't have a phone
Google
number
Voice.
or the ability to make a phone call of some capacity to a lot of like archaic organizations like pizza places, and you don't live somewhere cool like Rochester where you can just go to a website and order pizza, then you need this phone number. But you're not going to use it if you're one of these divergent tech people for anything but interfacing with archaic people.
Yep.
You know, calling your mom,
Well, that's what
calling
Google
the
Voice
pizza
is
place.
for. Google Voice.
Yeah, all my coworkers
Actually,
use it.
I found out if I can get Google, if anyone out there has a way to get us some Google Voice invite, whatever, I want it. Not because I want to use it for myself, but because I found out that it would actually be a really good way to get some voicemail type action in the podcast that doesn't suck, which is part of the reason why we've never done that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Audio basically stopped working at one point and no one ever fixed it.
Yeah, basically it would give us a phone number. The phone number you would call, you would leave your message. We would get a transcription of the message, however automatic and crappy it was. It would still help us know if your voicemail was good or not. And then we could push play like in Gmail to play the audio of the message, and then the output from the computer with the Gmail open would go into the mixer, and that would be how it would do it. So we just need Google Voice for that.
So there's this article on Slashdot, and again, in the true Slashdot sense, I don't care about the article, but I care about the topic the article raises. You can read the article if you want. I didn't even look at it. How to make science popular again. And this is something we've talked about a lot, but I started really thinking about it after seeing this article. I mean, you know, we always talk about back in the day, you had the World's Fair, optimism, the scientist.
That's my kind of place I want to be.
The scientist was the good guy saving you from the Godzilla that was also caused by science, but science was either a force of good or a double-edged sword. And more in the media, it's the, you know, evil scientist who uncovers the evil truth or does the evil thing.
And even the doctors who are supposed to heal you, it's like they're evil, and this bullshit Randy healing is good. You know?
Sadly, you know, there are a lot of things.
And all the news about medical studies are always scared to scare you, not to be about healing.
Well, there are arguments and things you could do to make science more palatable, and we have to make science more palatable and more popular, and more people to be interested in and care about science. But far and above and away, the number one thing I think is very simply that in the past, it wasn't necessarily pro-science, it was just pro-futurism. And it was this kind of, you know, 50s style, look, the future! Everything is great in the future! But more knowledge means that we know that everything's not great in the future, and that while things get better, science usually, it uncovers uncomfortable truths more quickly than it solves them.
Yep. Well, I mean, here's the other thing is that, right, you know, the laws of nature and the arrangement of the universe doesn't care. It can't care. It's just the way things are. And the way things are, you know, don't necessarily mesh with the way we happen to have built our society, because we built our society based on a limited knowledge. We didn't build our society on this more advanced knowledge. So uncovering any more knowledge is in the long run is guaranteed to disrupt our society and force it to change and break in many ways. For example, we've discovered how to copy things infinitely. Not so good for the way we've set up our information economy. We've discovered how, like, you know, we're starting to discover more and more how brains work and other such things. Not so good for the way we've treated privacy in the past. It's just gonna fall apart. So, you know, it's in the past, in the 50s, you know, the information we were discovering then, you know,
well, it's not just that.
See, it was making the lives of people in the United States seemingly better because they were seeing things in their everyday lives like refrigerators and stoves and all sorts of new things.
I disagree a little in that I think
and cars with wings on them.
I think it was much more subtle than that. If you look at, you know, the futurism of the 50s And it was basically taking existing comfortable structures and extruding them out into the future and basically just enhancing them in the context of their existing uses and their existing functions in the existing society.
Yep.
And less does that work at all, and more is that obviously not the way things will
Yes,
go.
now it's like in the future, everything you know and love will be gone. It'll be something different. Forced change.
I mean, if we were doing futurism now, like right now, we'd be looking at the iPhone of the future. It plays 3D video.
Yeah.
As opposed to phones are integrated with the brain and like there's all craziness that's going to happen.
Because the more you know, the less fantasy can come in, and people like fantasy a lot better than reality.
But there's also a subtle shift in that the marketing in the past was geared toward getting people to buy into futurism and buy into science and then buy products. And it was this kind of positive reinforcement of, look, everything makes everything better. Yes, power thirst. Now, at least when it comes to technology and medicine, especially medicine, it seems like the marketing is everything makes your life worse. We will scare you into buying products to protect yourself from the terrible secret of space.
Ozymandias saw it. Now you see it.
That's all. We could do a whole show
Lucky
on that.
mighty.
I wanted to touch on this.
Okay. This is real quick. I want to say that Twitter announced, among other things, that apparently despite the fact that you give Twitter, the company, rights to do certain things with your tweets, like republish them and display them, etc., you own your tweets. They belong to you. You have the copyright on them. You just grant Twitter this license to them. So...
Well, we have two opposite takes on the awesome way to handle this.
I suggest that you should Creative Commons license your tweets so that, people can retweet them without fear.
Now, thus the problem. The way Twitter is, that I feel we should do the opposite because my philosophy when it comes
This is also a plan I approve of, by the way. I approve of both plans.
As do I, because when I saw Scott do it, I was like, oh, that's the obvious good thing to do. That's cool. I should do that. And then I thought, wait a minute, because my whole life, whenever I see a problem, the first instinct I have is to push on that problem to the maximum level of escalation in order to force the issue and the decision to come to a head. Like, say my foot really hurts and I'm not sure if it's broken or not.
Jump up and down on it.
The first thing I'll do, unless there's like a bone sticking out, is try to walk normally. Because either I can or I can't. And having that knowledge and pushing it to the breaking point, possibly literally, will allow me to more quickly come to a resolution and go to the doctor.
Yep.
If I'm like, I don't know, and I kind of like gingerly like, then I'm going to delay possibly important and timely foot-saving technology.
Anyway.
And it's the same thing. If I go to a website and it's at all slow, I usually hit refresh a few times to see if I can bring it down.
Yeah.
So everything like that. Politics,
I hit
everything.
refresh a few times not to see if I can bring it down, to see if I can get it. I want to see it. So explain your tweet option.
So my tweet option is this. If I own my tweets, then if I don't give them an open license, doesn't that necessitate that people shouldn't be able to just retweet? I mean, all they're doing is attributing me, but they're also completely retransmitting my transmission. And
yeah, I mean, if you had a Creative Commons attribution license, that would be totally cool. But
without that, that's technically illegal. It's not fair use to just take my work and completely 100% give it away for free to someone else, regardless of whether or not I gave it away for free.
That's exactly right.
And it basically shows that copyright law really breaks down in the minutia. Well, it breaks down in the minutia. I mean, look, 144 characters. I could write every possible 144 character combination with a bash
26
script.
to the 144th power?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's not that many.
We should make a Twitter account that does it.
One by one a day?
We'll just have it tweet. You know what? The API limit is what, 100 and something an hour? Right? Something like that? So every hour it'll go through 155. How long will it take? Probably 1 billion years. Dinosaurs will be coming around and Twitter will be gone, but it'll still be...
What? Dinosaurs?
Yeah.
I guess Dave Riley was right.
That's how long it'll be in the future. The dinosaurs will come back and go away again.
One of the funniest things ever in Futurama was when they show that like time lapse of out the window while Fry's in the thing, and it's like civilization grows, comes to a peak, aliens destroy it all, castles, civilization comes back.
Yep.
But I don't know. I feel like everyone should do the opposite. We should all have a super restrictive, every maximum right that copyright lets you assert. and threaten everybody who retweets, or just point out to everyone who retweets.
And think
that
about this:
you are breaking the law by repeating me.
And if you make the argument, right, that 144 characters isn't copyrightable, right? If you want to make that argument,
well, Emily had she before any of us could say it the other night at dinner. Emily pointed out the obvious answer: haiku.
Yep.
So haiku is an art. Does not no copyright on haiku?
And also, at the same time, right, if you want to say it isn't, besides haiku, then why do I need to give Twitter this license to use it? And how can I own them? It's basically any tweet is automatically public domain by that measure.
So, yes.
Is that the case?
So I am not Creative Commonsing my tweets. And in fact, if you're retweeting me,
you're going to sue them.
You're probably going to get away with it because I don't have the legal resources.
You should send them
everybody.
a cease and desist.
Maybe I should. I'll start tweeting cease and desist. Now, here's another aspect of law. If I direct message tweet you, does that constitute me notifying you of something?
I don't know. I don't think so. But you should do it anyway, just to make people aware.
But so take either Scott's tack of using the Creative Commons tools to force our open ideals onto the broken structure, or use the broken structure to prove how broken it is. Either one is great.
Yep. Let's see what else we got.
I got one more little thing I want to bring up. There's this. This is from August, and maybe we could do a whole show on this later. We'll see. But there was an article: fear of porn URL exposure discourages Firefox 3 upgrade.
It's true.
It is very true because Firefox 3, makes your bookmarks usable. Bookmarks were old, the way people manage bookmarks, usually old and shitty with a million folders, and we could talk forever about how to manage your bookmarks. We may already have. But people who look at porn or do things like that, they're like animals. They don't really know how to hide what they're doing. The cat kind of knows, like they cover their poop. Humans do not understand what they're doing. You can train a cat to flush its poop down the toilet rather than just covering it in sand. And you can train a person to use something like Delicious rather than covering their poop in sand. But the majority of humans don't know, and they cover their porn. They'll have like the folder of I don't know, something weird, like poker, whatever. And in that folder, they'll have the subfolder of grandmas, whatever. And deep down under all this sand.
Grandmas? What kind of porn is that?
Well, it hiding in plain sight. If you like grandma porn, what's the best place to hide your grandma porn? Under the grandma bookmarks. Because no one's going to look at grandma bookmarks.
Right.
But people hide their poop under sand because they don't understand how to actually hide their poop. Or the begged question, should you even be hiding your poop at all? If you have to hide your poop, you've got a problem, or you're a cat. If you're a cat, train the cat how to use the toilet. And if you're a person, either don't be ashamed, or if you're ashamed, there are tools to hide your poop. There are easy ways to hide your poop, so the people you don't want to see your poop will not find your poop.
The new Firefoxes have private browsing modes, so there you go.
Yeah, but
just turn on private browsing, look at porn, turn off private browsing.
This raises another long-term uncomfortable issue where technology makes information more accessible. The better technology gets, the more you are as a person, either going to have to be comfortable with the fact that you poop, or you're going to have to be up with technology such that you know how to hide your poop. And more, smaller numbers of people will use increasingly complex methods of poop hiding, and the rest of you, grandma's gonna find your poop. So things of the day. What do you got?
So
I'm talking in a weird voice.
I was going to use something.
I kind of like talking in this voice.
We watched the College Humor video, and I decided that was very funny, so I'll use it.
It's pretty good. Now, if you think this is tasteless, you're wrong. This is definitely
This is no more tasteless than an old thing of the day involving stuffed plushies of the Twin Towers.
Oh man,
this is a
that one.
Yeah, that one. This is a Star Wars analogy. They're comparing the Death Star to the Twin Towers, and it is very funny.
Now, it could have been done stupidly or tastelessly or whatever, but not only is this funny,
it has a funny punchline at the end.
It is so cleverly done, and they make like 5 or 6 good out there jokes,
and it looks like they had high quality 501st armors too.
Yeah,
they were the real deal.
But it does such a good job of bringing up when they bring up the loose change BS.
Yeah, it's good.
Palpatine knew.
He did on purpose. There's no way 2 X-Wings could have blown up the Death Star. All right, we're not going to give away all the jokes.
You think Darth Vader was just happened to be in a TIE fighter when the whole thing went down?
Yeah, go watch this video.
It's good.
It's funny.
So my thing of the day, this is kind of old, but a lot of people probably didn't see it. So there's this famous painting of a guy and 2 kids in like a farm next to a ladder. It's this old like 16th, 17th.
You'll recognize the painting when you see it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that painting. Who painted it, by the way?
Ah, crap. All right, let me pull up the actual article.
Crap
Blah, blah, blah.
painted it, huh? I love Crap. He's such a great
all right,
painter.
17th century. The 17th century Dutch work Barn Interior is one of 16 paintings that Calvin alumnus Cornelius Van Nuy gave.
Van Nuy, okay.
No, Van Nuy gave it to a school 2 years ago. He did not paint it. Van Nuy was not the painter.
I was going to say. Van Nuy's a name I know. Anyway, continue.
Egbert van der Poels.
Van der Poel.
Work.
A name I've never heard before. Very good.
Shows 2 women.
My favorite.
Shows a woman and 2 children inside a barn. Blah 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 blah. He lived from 1621 to 1664. Not that long.
That's long ago, but not.
Anyway, it's a famous painting, and you know it like all old paintings that had problems, and they were going to restore it. While they were restoring it, the restorer noticed that like all paintings, it had darkened substantially over the years. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that we look at paintings and we kind of have this aesthetic of what we expect these famous old paintings to look like. In reality, they were a lot brighter and more colorful than we see them today because paint
They
fades.
had shitty fucking paint. Not like we do today where you have, like, you go to, the craft store and you get fucking the brightest paint in the universe.
The fact that these paintings at all exist in any form today
that aren't just black smears. Think about a tattoo.
amazes me.
Think about an old tattoo. That's what it was like. Eventually it turns into a blob.
Well, at least paintings don't have the problem that people get fat.
Well, yeah, I know. But even though, think about tattoo ink, right, turned into a blob, and that was only like less than a century ago. Multiple centuries ago, right, paint technology is going to be a blob.
You want to get into some geeky shit, the science and art and alchemy and mysticism of designing paint back in the day, that is a whole amazing topic. But
also, why artists are crazy. Lead.
So this work is a lot
Mercury.
lighter and warmer and redder than, people would have expected.
Yep.
And there's a lot more detail that was kind of hidden. But 2, he noticed that this ladder in the foreground that was kind of out of place was really thickly painted. Like there was a lot of paint there for some reason, like it had been painted over. So in the course of restoring, he discovers that under all that clearly added on later paint is a slaughtered pig.
Uh-huh.
A very detailed slaughtered pig. And the painting was originally very, very, very different because the original painting shows this, this person sitting there and these kids and all the accoutrement of a farm life and a slaughtered pig, cut open, ribs exposed, hanging to dry and cure from the ladder. Clearly what likely happened is some rich person, wanted this provincial life, life on the farm painting, and they saw this pig, and they were like, yeah, thanks for the painting. And then they hired someone else to paint over and put the ladder back. But look at how much the character and the meaning and everything of this painting has changed by this one detail that was redacted and we wouldn't have known without science and technology today. We're lucky in the modern world in that we can see, we can see Han Solo shooting first and Han Solo being a pussy. We have both options.
We need to reconstruct those. See, this is what I'm talking about. People are all talking, copyright. Oh, we got to stop remixers. We got to stop sharers. No, you know what we really have to stop? We really have to stop, vandalisms, right? That's something we should stop, right? We should stop George Lucas from destroying his masters, and we should recreate them and give him the finger if possible. And we should stop, some rich dude from, modifying some sculpture. This is what you need to do to protect art, not copyright.
So yeah, check out the pig, and it's a shockingly cut open pig.
All right, so I got a new segment. Is that what is that the noise you're gonna have? Really? All right, you can stop that now. You're just ruining it, and you're making it annoying and painful. Everyone just turned off right now. So good job.
Hey, it's not as bad as the early Geeknights.
If you would have done it for a second, nobody wouldn't have been so annoying and painful.
I want to point out in early Geeknights, we came up with the thing
That's why we didn't post those shows.
We came up with the thing of the day bit, and we came up with music for the thing of the day that would play looping in the background as its intro and closer.
That's the reason we didn't do that.
It sounded really cool if things of the day lasted 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So 10 minutes of this intense music playing quietly in the background drove people crazy.
So we got a new segment. It's gonna be a really short segment, and basically the thing is this: I hate putting meta in the show. For those of you who don't know, meta is when you talk about the show on the show. Yeah, that's bad. I want to limit that as much as possible.
I mean, sometimes it's good. Like, hey, we're doing 1,000 panels at this con, but
right.
Sometimes because a new listener and an old listener will care. Sometimes it's bad. Like, oh yeah, forum bullshit, blah blah blah.
Right. We're not gonna do any of that. That's for sure.
But in general, if you're a new listener or if you're not in the community of Geeknights, aside from Geeknights, you don't care about our meta bullshit. You just want us to get through it. But we have to talk about some things on the show.
Yes, and the thing is, we avoid meta so much that we forget to talk about the tiny bit of meta that we should. For example, we never remember to not repeatedly announce contests and other things that we have that we should put in the show that's appropriate meta. So if we have a meta minute segment where we force ourselves to do some meta during the show, then we'll remember to do that stuff. So here we go, the ad contest, Geeknights ad contest. You make an advertisement that we can use to advertise Geeknights on other websites. You can win Akira, the manga, the whole thing. Go to the website, go to the forum. There's a thread all about it. I think I'm going to extend the deadline a little bit just so I can get a few more entries in there. Well, I guess we'll extend it by, a week or so. And we're going to announce it in the Meta Minute segment so we won't forget. So if you have Photoshop skills, make an advertisement, according to the rules on the website in the thread for Geeknights, basically something that will be posted on other websites that will get people to click on it and come listen to Geeknights, and you can win a pile of mangas.
Good manga, too.
They're very expensive, and
manga
$180 worth of mangas.
Manga that you will enjoy, even if you don't think you like manga, you never listen to our Wednesday show.
Yep, so enter this contest, and that's the Meta Minute.
So, this whole week, and much of last week, I've been working from home.
Working from home.
It's great.
It's good times.
The only reason I get to work from home, I never actually got sick. Scott and I somehow avoided it, but everyone else...
I'm immune with my awesome immune system.
The word I've been using, and I've been saying this a lot to my coworkers, I stand by my freakish immunity to the swine flu.
Yes, but you don't have a freakish immunity to pollen for some... or various other things.
Yes, I have allergies. Anyway, so... Pretty much everyone got the swine flu, and even the people who went to PAX with us, Emily and Alex, and they came back and they were sick. And my coworkers, my company has a policy, so I basically have been working from home since PAX. I have not been to Manhattan since we flew back from PAX.
Nice.
It's been great. I got to tell you, working from home is the best fucking thing ever.
It's all right.
I'm probably going to go into work independently. I'm working the midnight shift and covering Europe one more time this week. And while the European shift was the worst thing in the world when I was doing it, from the office, taking the ass-late Croton-Harmon train into the city, sitting in this quiet-ass office all alone in empty Midtown at night with weird noises in the building and nothing to eat, and it sucked. I was tired. Working from home, it's great. I wake up at 11:45. I'm at work at 11:50. I'm done with work at 9, and then I go do stuff. Oh, my God. I want to work from home forever. Anyway, the only reason this is possible is because... of VPN.
Yes, I promised someone, I forget who it was, do a show about VPN, so here it is. VPN is a virtual private network, and the reason it is called that is because it lets you, it's as if you're on a private network, but you're not. You're on the internet. You're on the public network, but it's as if you're on a private network. Thus, it's virtually a private network.
We're not going to dwell on the simplistic stuff, but we're also not going to get into the super technical detail, but we're going to talk about a lot, but... VPN, really, all it is, as Scott said, just think of it this way. I've got my computer at work, or at my school, or any place. We'll use work as the example.
Any private network.
So my work has an intranet, and maybe it's connected to the internet. Maybe it has an internet within it, which is not an uppercase internet. I hope everyone understands those terms still. We've gone over that in the past.
Yep.
So if I'm not physically there, and I have a VPN, it is as though I'm physically there. My computer has no way to know that it is not physically and directly at my office. It can do all the things that it could do at the office.
Yep, let's say you've got 10 computers and you wire them up together, right? And, it's okay, they can all connect to each other and talk in various ways. Maybe one of them has a web server, right? And you only want people in your house on these 10 computers to go to the web server. You don't want to let anyone in the world go to it. You got secret stuff on there, right? See, what you do is you configure the web server and you say, hey, web server, don't give web pages to anyone who isn't in this room on these 10 computers. But what if someone's not physically in the room? They're far away. They get a VPN, it goes over the internet, but it's all encrypted and secure and locked down, and effectively, their computer on the other side of the world is in the room, even though it's not, and they can visit the web server.
Now, depending on what you're doing, there are other and sometimes better ways to do this sort of thing. I mean,
there's tons of different VPNs. There's hardware VPNs.
Not even just VPN. I mean, if you just have web services that you need to get out, one viable way is to have them over the internet with the tunnel, or to have them over the internet with just SSL. You know, you've got to log in and it's encrypted.
Yep.
And the real benefit of VPN, aside from everything, is that it's a comprehensive solution. It basically, by default, will do everything. You don't have to worry about setting up all this extra stuff. It basically just makes your computer as though it's there. All the different protocols and ports and everything work. So you don't have to change your entire security architecture to support, multiple methods of ingress and egress for all your services. You basically design them as though they'll never leave your company, and then you give people VPN access if they need to access all of those services.
Yep.
It's also really, really good for legacy services, old LAN-only bullshit that needs, it can't go over routed protocols.
That's a very good example, because one of the best uses of VPN I've noticed lately, for normal people at least, is let's say you want to play some video games. But, the video games, you got to play them over the internet. It sucks. They want you to use an auth server or something. It's not working out too well. You'd rather use the LAN mode. It's much easier. You can just get your friends together.
Even though LAN mode, we've talked about how it's stupid, pointless, don't need it anymore. It's the way of the dodo, and people are dropping it left and right anyway.
Right. But for example, I wanted to play System Shock 2 with someone, right? And we have NAT routers. So that makes it very difficult to play over the internet without a server.
Yep.
Right?
So, look, option one, one of you hosts a server, you make all the firewall and NAT table bullshit happen. And while that's easy for people like us, it's still not trivial.
It's a pain in the ass.
I have a little diagram of our home network, and anytime we want to do something like that, I got to sit down, look at that thing. All right, is that port being used by anything else? No? Okay. Is the static IP the same? Blah, blah, blah. Nope. Okay. And I got to do all this crap.
Yep.
And even for professionals, it's not easy. If you're not a professional, you're fucked.
Right. People have such problems opening the ports. Some people have sort of figured it out, but even then, it hardly ever works all the time, and home routers are not that reliable in terms of those features.
But I thought UPnP was going to solve this forever for everyone.
It only made things worse.
Yeah.
So what we did is use Hamachi, or, there are other alternatives to Hamachi as well, which is sort of an easy VPN for normal people. And suddenly, me and this other person on the other side of the world, or, relatively far away, have created a new private network, and we're both on it. And it's as if our computers are just wired up to each other directly in the same house, and we can open up a game and turn on LAN mode, and it just works. And there you have it. And VPNs are totally awesome like that.
Now, the other, a side benefit, mostly from a corporate or anything secure military perspective, is the VPNs generally offer more comprehensive security. Let's say you just have SSL or a tunnel or something. If the host computer gets compromised, or if the host computer is multi-homed, or there are all sorts of attack vectors that you have to be very proficient. Your network engineers have to really know what they're doing, or you'll introduce all these extra attack vectors through whatever, tunnels or whatever you've set up. But good VPN software, oftentimes you'll have this sort of lockdown. Like if you use a Cisco RSA or any of that stuff, if I turn on my VPN, I put my RSA key in, which one has multi-factor. It's something I have, something I know.
Mm-hmm.
And independent of that, there's all this other, similar multiplied factor on the other side. I still have to log into the domain and all that stuff. But all that aside, what it does is it locks down my computer, turns off all other multi-homing, all other stuff, to where the only thing my computer can connect to now is my corporate network.
Yeah, and you might think, well, what's the point of that, right? The point of that is, let's say they let you in the VPN, right? But they still let you use your normal internet connection in your house.
All right, so I got my unencrypted, wireless connection through some shady access point that I found outside.
Yep. So then what you could do is you could just open up, you can make a tunnel and you could intentionally let the whole world into that VPN, and now you basically just open up a gaping hole into the corporate network. Congratulations.
Yep. VPNs are also really good for corporate access from untrusted sites. You kind of create this encrypted tunnel that is easy to create. I mean, some CEO guy is not going to be able to just set up an SSH tunnel bouncing off of his Linux box or anything.
Yep.
At least, even if he's smart, even people like us, I can't do that quickly. I can't just like, bam, and set that up.
Yep. Another thing about VPN, right, is, okay, let's say I'm a company, and I got 2 offices, right? One in Connecticut and one in California, far away. I need these offices to sort of connect to each other, right? I want, everyone needs to work together. It should just be one network, right? I can't really, having 2 separate networks and then, having to use internet protocols to go between, that's risky for my business, first of all. And second of all, it's a pain in the ass. It'd be a lot easier.
I mean, think about all the BS of like dealing with your Exchange server and all your...
Yeah, right? It would be a lot easier if all the computers around the world that belong to my company were just always on the same network, the ones in offices. So I could, right? I could pay for really expensive, like, T1s and T3s and OC3s that go across, great distances and make it so that the computers are actually on the same network.
Yep, you can also do kind of the second tier, like a virtual circuit, MPLS kind of thing, where which is still basically, it's the same as a T3, it's virtual.
Yep, but a much cheaper solution, especially for a tiny company, is to get a VPN. And it wouldn't be sort of like this, VPN that you use when you're working from home where you turn it on and turn it off. It would be an always-on sort of hardware VPN.
Now, one way to do this, Scott mentioned having the one big network. You can also use this with multiple networks. I mean, like, say I have my New York office, my San Francisco office, my Chicago office, my Dubai office, and every one of them has its own network with its own IP scheme.
Yep.
But I want to connect them. I don't want to make it a flat LAN. I don't want the VPN to just make them appear to be the same network.
Yeah, you want 4 different subnets. Make it easy.
But I still want them to connect to each other privately, and I don't want to pay for a leased line. I mean, all the VPN does is make an encrypted tunnel through the internet. So I only need internet connections at every point I want to connect, and they all just connect to each other over the internet, the same as any other internet thing. It's no different than web traffic.
You're basically making a big pipe over the internet that's yours and yours alone that connects 2 places. You're basically using the internet for your own private networking needs. So it's like you could run an Ethernet cable in your house. Think of it as throwing an Ethernet cable all the way across the internet to your friend who catches it. And now it's your Ethernet cable. No one else can get in. It's like a physical thing.
Now, there are pros and cons. Pros, it has all the same backup and functionality of the internet. It'll just route over...
If the internet goes down, your VPN goes down.
But I was saying the pro first. It routes over the internet. So whatever BS is going on the internet, you don't care. You only need to know the IPs of your 2 endpoints or N endpoints, and everything just works.
Yeah, you gotta have static IPs, or else it's a little difficult.
Yeah, there are ways around that.
Like Hamachi doesn't need it, but other ones do, and, whatever.
The cons... You're beholden to the internet. If you don't have a fat internet pipe, your VPN's going to be slow as shit.
Yeah, VPNs are slower. Like, if your internet connection is like X fast, the VPN's going to be slower than that because it's doing all this extra stuff.
It's encrypting.
Not only is
overhead.
it encrypting and adding latency by doing the encryption, it's also sending over more datas, sort of overhead packets and things for the VPN instructions and routing and all this stuff. So it's going to slow you down. So, I mean, it's still good enough to do something that's not super, super performance intensive, but don't expect to, have your ping stay the same when you're playing the Counter-Strikes, because it's not. It's going to be bigger.
So, you're a punk kid, you want to learn how to do this stuff? Try Hamachi. It just works.
Hamachi just works.
And if you get beyond Hamachi, real simple. Get some net appliance or some image. There are all sorts of ways to do this. Just find some VPN solution that's free and easy and open sourcey, and just run it on your home network and figure out what your external dynamic IP is. Maybe pay for one of those DDNS services.
One very good idea to try out VPN is if you get one of those routers that you can flash the firmware on, if you put on the DDWRT or the Tomato or one of those other router for alternative open source router firmwares, most of them have open VPN support, and you can read online how to make that work. And the reason you want to do this, right, is another great use of VPN, right? You're on vacation somewhere. You're at a convention, right? You've got in your home network, say you've got your iTunes with your music sharing, right? But it's in your home, and it's on your hard drive in your desktop, and you don't want to pick that up and carry it with you to a convention. But you want to listen to some music that you didn't bring with you on your iPod. So what you do is you turn on your laptop, you open up your iTunes, you don't put a VPN to your house. Now it's as if your laptop is in your house. So your iTunes sharing suddenly works. Look at that. Just do. Oh, look, I can see my computer from here. right? You don't need to use any like your remote desktop VNC type of stuff. You can just share your files locally on your home network securely so that, no one outside your house is going to get your files off your computer. Only people in your house are going to get your files that you're sharing. Like you're sharing them mostly so that you can access them from downstairs or upstairs or basement. But now, if you VPN back to your house, you can get your stuff, and it's totally cool.
Now, plus, as we always say, you can't learn something just by wanting to learn it. You have to have some application, some use. So if you want to learn VPN, just set it up. Anyone can do it. There's nothing stopping you, and you'll learn a whole bunch of stuff about networking and VPN along the way. But when you're done,
you'll learn a lot of networking stuff.
You'll get a usable thing that you will probably use on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, think about how many people work from home and have VPNs, and they know how to turn them on because basically all they have to do is open up the Cisco software, push connect, and type in their password. But sometimes that shit don't work. And if you learn about VPNs, you'll have a much easier time telecommuting. And if you're much better at telecommuting and much more reliable at doing work while telecommuting because you know how the VPN works and you're good at getting it to work, you'll work from home a lot more, probably. And you'll also have more access to your own stuff when you're away from the house, and you'll play more games, and it'll be awesome. VPN is great.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.